So you're looking for a great, cheap zoom lens for your Fujifilm camera. Well, hey, we're using one right now for this video. I'm actually filming myself on the Sigma 18 to 50 millimeter 2.8. It looks pretty nice. Doesn't it look nice? It looks super nice. So Sigma sent me this lens to play around with for a little bit, so thank you, Sigma. I got to shoot a little B-roll. And I got to play around with the lens, and so it's not a super review because there's better people at that, but today we're going to talk about what's great about this lens and how it compares to the 18 to 50, look at that, it focuses pretty nice, the 18 to 55 kit lens from Fujifilm. This is a great lens that has image stabilization and is very sharp. The only thing about this lens that's a little it's a variable aperture lens, so it goes from 2.8 if you have it zoomed to 18, but then as soon as you zoom it to 55, it changes to an f4. So that could be a little annoying if you're shooting manual. The picture will all of a sudden get dark. But with this Sigma is a 2.8 aperture. That means that the opening on the lens is always constant. If you just set it to 2.8 and forget it, you can zoom and the exposure won't change. Now, I love me a prime lens, but you can't beat the versatility of a zoom lens like this 16 to 50. And if you're trying to find one for your Fujifilm camera, there's a couple, but they're just a little too big, like the 16 to 80 millimeter f4. That's a great lens, a great travel lens. It's just a little bulky if you want to keep your kit small. And there's also a 16 to 55, which is very pro, also 2.8, but it's big, it's a big boy. And then you have your kit lens, the 18 to 55, which is a better kit lens than the 16 to 50 plastic lens, which comes with a lot of the, like entry-level Fujifilm cameras. Let's start with the bad stuff with this lens. The first thing is, if you have some of the older Fujifilm cameras, like I shot this lens with the Fujifilm X-T20, my favorite camera, and they fit perfectly together. They were balanced, they were awesome, nice lightweight. I just had the camera in my little fanny pack. If you haven't seen my fanny pack video, I'll link that up below. But one negative is I like to shoot video as well, and this lens doesn't have image stabilization. Now, this may not be an issue as the years roll on. This lens was just announced now, but Fujifilm also has announced 3 cameras in the last few months that all have in-body stabilization. And so this will not be an issue in a couple of years, I think. I think most of the Fujifilm cameras will eventually have image stabilization. But if you have an older camera, the Fujifilm 18 to 55 has a little switch here, which lets you stabilize the lens. So if you shoot video with some of the older cameras, that's a negative. There's no aperture ring, which is not a super deal breaker, especially if you're 2.8, you're just gonna park it there anyway. But you can just use the front dial or rear dial to change your aperture. And one that's a little confusing, and it's because Sigma doesn't make lenses for Fujifilm, but when you zoom, it's the other way. So here on the Fujifilm, you actually turn to the right to zoom your lens, and with the Sigma, you have to turn to the left. So it's like, if you went to Australia, everything is just different. Super positives, image quality is amazing, the lens is super sharp. At 2.8, you get a little bit more bokeh than the 18 to 55 or any f4 lens. It definitely is sharper and has better image quality than the 18 to 55 millimeter kit lens. But remember, we've talked about how if people are trying to see the sharpness of your picture, your image may not be compelling. There are so many other things besides how sharp the lens is that makes a good photograph. And some of the people who use Fujifilm, their favorite lenses are ones that have character, that are kind of like, you know, they have vignetting on the edge or a little dark on the edge, or, you know, they kind of aren't that sharp. They're not clinically sharp. They have a little bit more softness and like a filmic quality to them. So think about that, but this looks pretty good right here. I look kind of, let's zoom this in right now. Let's see how we look right there. Yeah, I have the settings right now to be the fastest possible. So I'm sorry if you're watching this in 4K. What was I gonna say? I'm distracted by my beautiful face right here. 18, 55, 55. Oh, yes. Right there. That looks good right there. Okay, sorry, back to back to the video. Another benefit of this lens is the price. It's actually priced really well for its size, which is another benefit, and how light it is. It's just great. Like, it's a great travel lens. It may be a good street lens if you're a zoom street shooter, which, by the way, I love carrying a zoom lens for street photography, because it gives you just such great variety. 18 is a great focal length. And then you can park it in the middle and kind of get that general 35mm-ish focal length. And then when you want to do a portrait or something, 50mm, it's just great. So, sorry, the sun just went away. Gotta raise my ISO here a little bit, Of course, the cloud will move. Here comes the sun. There I go. I'm starting to burn. I used to film all my videos with natural light, and this is something I dealt with all the time. I kind of have stopped shooting with natural light, but today's a beautiful day outside. One thing that always concerns me about third-party lenses with Fujifilm is, will the colors change? And I found that the colors are pretty there. They're there, man. Because I have used some sort of third-party, cheaper, less than $100 lenses, and the colors are just like, you know, completely wrong. So it looks like the glass is very clean and gives you the colors of the camera, which is great to hear. The insane thing that I found about this lens is the minimum focus distance at 18mm is just ridiculous. Like, you have to take the lens hood off to get right to, I'm looking at my statue over here of Daredevil. I photographed Daredevil at 18mm, super close up, and I tried it with the 18-55 kit lens, and you could definitely get closer with the Sigma lens, like crazy close. Now, when you get that close, there's such a small little sliver of focus. Like, I can only focus on like half the lip, so the whole picture looks blurry. And I've had people, like beginners, ask me, hey, why are my pictures blurry? And it's not. It's sometimes that if you get too close with a lens, the focal plane is just so thin. Then when zooming to 50mm, you can still get closer with the Sigma. And of course, at 2.8, it looks super bokeh-licious. All right, so is this an option? This is totally an option. This is a great option for the 2.8 all the way across. If your camera has IBIS, like one of the new ones, or the X-T4, you're set for video because you have like a nice little variable video lens. Instead of shooting with primes, you got that 2.8 going there. It also has good color, sharp, no aperture ring. Purists out there, I don't really care if, you know, it's giving me all the other stuff, image quality being pretty important. And also something to think about, I can't test this camera with the, I don't have the X-T5 yet. So this might be super sharp, that can, you know, sharp enough that it could deal with that higher megapixel count of the X-T5. So for its price, versatility, it's a go. For travel lens, for lightness, for hiking, works great on smaller cameras, and just is perfect on the bigger cameras like this X-T3. All right, I'll see you guys next time. I hope that helped you. I'll see you next time. Okay, see you, bye.